city is under some kind of terror threat.
He said something big was gonna happen.
Somebody has to punish the corrupt.
I respect your conviction. The lone man thinks he can make a difference.
Do you believe in the devil, Father?
You're fighting a war. This is just the beginning.
You can't give in to the fear.
What are you gonna do?
Whatever it takes.
The lone man thinks he can make a difference.
Get out of my city.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So huge news. Daredevil Season 2 just cast the Punisher. It's actually Joe Bernthal from The Walking Dead. Shane is the Punisher. My initial reaction is, of course Shane is the Punisher. That's what he was on The Walking Dead. That's totally his character. A lot of you guys asked me earlier this year, whenever they were getting ready to premiere Daredevil, if Punisher would ever enter the universe, because Marvel got the rights back to him pretty recently. Netflix feels like the perfect place for the character, very low pressure. The problem with putting him in a movie is if it fails, then they have to wait like 4 or 5 years before they try again, just because it's such a bomb. This way, he has Charlie Cox and the rest of the supporting cast. Developing him through 13 hours of television in an ensemble just gives them much more time to flesh out the character than a 2-hour movie ever would. Plus, it doesn't hurt that they're on Netflix and they can be as violent as they want. You guys can let me know whether you agree. Do you feel like Netflix is the perfect place for the Punisher character? Everyone wants to see him do really well in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think that he could transition into the movies eventually, but I think Marvel needs time to build the character out. Remember, all the other versions of the character we've seen before are from other studios. If any of you saw Punisher Warzone, it was a pretty crazy film. The director of that film is actually going to be directing Arrow this season. Obviously a bit of a step down in terms of violence, but I think it's interesting what's going on with Punisher right now in pop culture. If you haven't been reading Secret Wars, just careful for spoilers for Punisher and then the first couple of issues, just because he has a really awesome appearance. You probably heard of Battle World. It's just, one world made from the pieces of a bunch of different places in the multiverse, a bunch of different Earths. The story that Punisher appears in, he is like the tether for Doctor Strange's soul from another universe. So you get like Doctor Strange Punisher. The interesting thing about that is that Doctor Strange is really important to the Defenders, which is obviously what all these Netflix series are building up to. There's a lot of rumors that Doctor Strange will have a cameo in the Defenders. I'm not going to hold my breath on that because Benedict Cumberbatch is a really busy man. Really, a lot of the mysticism inside these Netflix series is probably going to come from the Iron Fist series, just because that's like the next best thing to Doctor Strange that you have. A lot of his stories flow from a mystical place, just in the same way that Doctor Strange's stories do. In the context of the Daredevil series, though, Punisher has actually shown up in Daredevil comics a lot of times, so they're not bending canon or anything like that to bring him on the series. Marvel's official white paper on the character, like the official synopsis that they give is, he is a vigilante who aims to clean up New York City's Hell's Kitchen by any means necessary, no matter how lethal the results. That last bit is the important part, no matter how lethal. His description reads exactly like Daredevil's, clean up Hell's Kitchen by any means necessary. It's just that the Punisher adds that lethal modifier, meaning he's going to be killing a ton of people. One of my all-time favorite Punisher moments was actually from Marvel's Civil War event a couple years ago. He tried to help out Captain America's team, but they weren't having any of it. This was at the point when things had gotten really bad too. They needed all the help they could get, but they saw Punisher and they were just like, nope, you know what, you're just like a little too crazy for us, so we're gonna take a hard pass. Punisher always works best when he's just absolutely ridiculous, but not so ridiculous that he turns into Deadpool. Deadpool is like a pure comic book character. That's why I feel like even the Deadpool movie is gonna like tone the character down just like a little bit, because the essence of Deadpool is complete fantasy. Like, it's a completely unrealistic character. Punisher feels much more grounded in reality. Psychopathic hero walks around killing people in the name of justice. He's not gonna walk around with his severed head or anything like that, although he might sever a few heads. Daredevil Season 2 isn't supposed to premiere till next year. I mean, it's going to premiere about the same time Season 1 premiered, right before Captain America Civil War comes out. Just in case you guys want some deep cuts for good Daredevil Punisher stories, here are a couple suggestions. You might be able to find most of these on Marvel Unlimited, but There's Child's Play. That's a story from Daredevil 183 to 184. It's one of Frank Miller's older stories. It's just a good example of Matt Murdock protecting villains from Frank Castle. I think a real WTF in season 2 would be Daredevil protecting Wilson Fisk from Punisher. Remember, as of the end of season 1, they're bitter enemies, so that'd be just a really fun twist, where Daredevil's like, yeah, you're the worst thing imaginable, but you don't deserve to be gunned down in cold blood. Then there's Daredevil versus Punisher, which was like its own separate comic book by itself. It's Daredevil and Punisher separately, like on their own, going after Hammerhead and the Jackal, while the Kingpin is still stuck in jail. Like they're both pursuing those villains on their own, using their own methods. Punisher, of course, wants to annihilate them. Daredevil just wants to get them locked up. So they end up clashing, and you get a lot of Daredevil fighting Punisher, which I feel like they're totally going to do in the Netflix series. You can't have a really classic Daredevil versus Punisher comic and not have a moment like that on the TV series. Ultimately, we have to remember, Punisher is a hero, so as much as he's going to be fighting Daredevil during the series, they will help each other. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case when all the Defenders meet each other, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones. It's kind of like the first Avengers film whenever Thor and Iron Man went at it for a little bit. No hard feelings, Point Break, you got a mean swing. Before this news came along, I was going to do a Jessica Jones video, so I might push that to later this week, but just because, Punisher is such a big deal, I think tomorrow I'll do like my top 5 Punisher stories from the comics, so be sure to subscribe to get that. If there are any, Punisher related videos that you guys want, just let me know in the comments. And I almost forgot, my Marvel giveaway starts now. All it is just like my Game of Thrones giveaway. It's a $20 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I'll announce the winner whenever I post my next Marvel video. Just because of that too, my normal DC, Flash, Arrow videos will just get pushed by a little bit, but those will still happen this week. And for those of you that just can't stop thinking about Walking Dead now that Shane is the Punisher, I am going to be doing Fear the Walking Dead videos pretty soon. So while you guys wait for that stuff to drop, you can click here to learn all about Bullseye coming to Daredevil Season 2. He's supposed to be one of the villains. And you can click here to learn all about Legends of Tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody, let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.